Hey everyone, and welcome. So glad you're here. We're going to jump right into something pretty profound today. This idea that we all have two different minds running at the same time, and really getting a handle on them. Well, that's the secret to finding some real, lasting inner peace.
So let's start with a big question, one that might even feel a little strange at first. We all know people who are just brilliant, right? Off the chart smart. Maybe you are one of those people. But have you ever stopped to wonder why a high IQ doesn't automatically mean a happy life? In fact, as the source material points out, some of the most intelligent people out there are battling some serious frustration and anxiety. So what's going on?
Well, the answer, according to the teachings we're digging into, comes down to this really core idea. We're not just running on one mental operating system. We're actually running on two. You've got the worldly intellect on one hand and the wisdom intellect on the other. And believe me, they operate in completely different ways. So to really wrap our heads around this, we've got to break these two minds down. And we're going to start with our default setting, the one we're all pretty familiar with. Let's dive into the trap of the worldly intellect. So what is this worldly intellect? Well, it's basically the mind we're all born with. You can think of it like our factory-installed survival software. It's totally impulsive, it's super reactive, and its number one job is just to help us get by in the physical world. It's the part of you that feels hungry or scared or has those basic urges. And this is where the problem comes in. The worldly intellect ties our happiness directly to things outside of ourselves. It measures our success, our sense of peace by how much money we have, how our relationships are going, our social status, all of it. And that's the trap, right? It puts our inner peace on really shaky ground because it's totally dependent on things that are always changing and, at the end of the day, just aren't permanent.
Wow. I mean, this quote really hits home, doesn't it? It's such a powerful way to think about the limits of this default mind. Just because it's sharp or even a quote-unquote genius doesn't mean it's wise. This really highlights that when our survival-focused mind is just constantly in overdrive, it can actually lead to a whole lot of distress, not fulfillment.
Okay, so that's the trap, a mind that's always chasing things outside of itself. So what's the alternative? What's the way out? Well, this brings us to that second, and honestly, much more powerful operating system that we all have access to. Here's the big difference. Unlike the worldly intellect that's just there, the wisdom intellect is something you have to consciously cultivate. It's a skill you build, not a feature you're born with. It's analytical, not reactive. It stops and reflects instead of just jumping on every impulse. And its entire focus shifts from the outside world to our inner state of being, which is the only place we can ever find true stability. All right, this chart right here, it lays it all out beautifully. It's like a tale of two minds. Just look at the difference in focus, from external conditions to internal peace. And what are they measuring? One is chasing wealth, IQ, status, stuff that can literally disappear tomorrow. The other is measured by lasting happiness and a connection to truth. I mean, that shift from being reactive and anxious to reflective and stable, that's the whole game.
Now, I want to be super clear about something. This isn't about trying to, delete the worldly intellect. We absolutely need it. It's what tells you you're hungry or that you need to go to the bathroom. The goal isn't to get rid of it. The goal is simply to put the wisdom intellect in the driver's seat and let it guide the raw impulses of our default mind.
Okay, so this all sounds great, right? But it's easy to talk about. The real question is, how do you actually do it? How do we make this shift in real life? Let's get into the practical side of things and see how this journey unfolds. The source gives us this really clear 5-step path, and it starts with something so simple, awareness. Just noticing where you are, your place, your position, your posture. Then you move to carefreeness, and this is a huge one. It's this mental move where you separate yourself, the knower, from your thoughts, the known. You realize you're the one watching the thoughts. You're not the thoughts themselves. Whoa, right? From there, you use a mantra to reflect and your breath to help settle the mind until you get to that final step, just being. Doing nothing, just being aware.
Okay, but does this stuff actually work in the real world? Well, let me just show you a number. 90 minutes.
So where does that number come from? It's from this incredible story about a practitioner over in Ukraine who followed these exact steps before his practice. And he found himself able to sit almost perfectly still for an hour and a half. An hour and a half, just experiencing this deep, profound state of calm with barely any distractions. It's just an amazing testament to how powerful this approach can be. And look, it's not just some one-off thing. Here's what a participant named Sophie had to say about her experience. She noticed a space opening and a distance from thoughts. That's it. That's the wisdom intellect coming online and creating a buffer between you and that constant mental chatter.
So we've got this path, we know it works, but here's the best part. You don't have to figure it all out on your own. In fact, the source material really emphasizes how important it is to find a guide to help you navigate this journey.
See, in this tradition, which is, by the way, like 10,000 years old, the teacher's role isn't to be some guru who invents new stuff. Not at all. Their job is to be a faithful transmitter of this time-tested wisdom. Their whole function is to help us make that crucial shift from being led by the worldly intellect to being led by the wisdom intellect. And I absolutely love this next analogy. It makes so much sense. Think of the teachings as a GPS for your mind. It's that simple. And if the GPS says, turn right, and you decide, nah, I think I'll go left, well, you're not going to end up where you want to go, are you? Following the path as it's laid out is absolutely key. And to actually use that GPS, we need to bring a few things to the table ourselves. It starts with humility, being willing to admit you don't know it all. Then comes receptivity, having an open mind. After that, reflection, actually taking the time to think deeply about what you're learning. And finally, you just need a real commitment to walking the path. And you know what? This quote from another participant, Charlie, just nails it. It perfectly captures the whole shift we're talking about. The worldly intellect's default response is always, I know, it's closed off. But the wisdom intellect's starting point is, let me find out. It's a fundamental shift from arrogance to genuine curiosity. And that shift makes all the difference in the world. So I want to leave you with this one final question to think about. As you go about your day, your week, which intellect is really running the show? Which one is in your driver's seat? Is it that reactive mind, the one that's always tied to what's happening on the outside? Or is it the reflective mind, the one that's grounded in your own inner peace? Because at the end of the day, that choice is always ours to make.